Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Sapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Avinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, welcome back, everyone, after our break. Scott, are you online? No, Scott. And Mark, can you tell us where we are in the text?
Number 101.
Who else is online? I see one person with their camera off.
David Silva and me.
Okay. All right, go for it.
Aham shabdasya nisthaya jyotishi pratyagatmani saivokta sadasityevam phalam tatra vimuktata. It is the indirectly expressed meaning of the word I vis-a-vis the innermost and self-luminous self, which is expressed in the teaching, Thou art that. And the result is liberation.
Yes. So this has been an exegesis of this great Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, you are that, thou art that. And taken at a literal or surface level, that's a better way to put it. It means you are God. So if we look at it from the standpoint of the jiva, the individual, it's absurd. Of course, I, Jim, am not God. You know, I'm not omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. I'm confined to the body. I have limited knowledge and I can only do certain things. God is in. So what we've been dealing with is the lakshanam, the inferred meaning. Who is the real I am not the body, I'm not the prana, I'm not the feelings, I'm not the thoughts. I'm not the jiva bhavana, the thought of self, the karta, the doer. Not even the deep bliss of total sleep, ignorance. Who am I? Chidakash, vast empty space of pure awareness. Which I've always been. In my my mind, I didn't see it. We used the example the other night in Gita of what they used to call back in the 70s samadhi tanks. I think they call them sensory deprivation tanks. Deepa actually did one. So you get inside this, it looks like a big white coffin. There's very salty water at 98.6, and it's completely soundproof, no light. You're floating in this water. Your senses are deprived. And when you're in there, there's this very loud noise of your own heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. You can hear it because all of the extraneous and occluding sensory perceptions are gone. So also in meditation, when we withdraw our awareness from the distraction of sensory experience, this jiva bhavana falls. And I see I am not the body. Aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Next verse.
Shrutamatreణ channa syat karyam tatra bhaved dhruvam vyavaharat purapishtaha sadbhava swayyamatmanaha. It would surely be necessary to admit an injunction if right knowledge were not produced immediately when one was taught that one was Brahman. The self exists in its own nature even before one is taught the meaning of the sentence, thou art that.
Yes. So this is the great paradox. I call it sometimes the cosmic joke. The great 20th century saint Meher Baba used to say, everybody's already realized. What did he mean by that? So, bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. What is the praman? The means of knowledge by which the self is directly known. It is the self itself. You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself, yet you know you are you. How do you know? I don't know, I just do. Exactly. You are Swayambhu, self-evident, Swayam Jyoti, self-effulgent, self-luminous. Now, the scriptures say the cause of our bondage is the veiling power of avidya, ignorance, Maya. Actually, Maya never really covers the self. Are you realizing? No, Jim, I'm not. I'm a miserable creature. Do you know you exist? Yes, I know I exist. What's your existence? Misery. Do you know your misery? I know my misery. I am. I know. It's still there. It's never gone. And this is why in the mind, once you get what it is, you don't lose it. It's myself. Now I go through this process to rediscover my self nature. And I see in my mind's eye. Oh, I am not the body. I'm not a person. I'm that ground of being, pure awareness. And I've always been that. I didn't become it. But in my mind, I did not know it. And this is what transforms our experience in the world, what he calls vyavahara. What I get is existential freedom. No longer worried about trying to secure self. And now I finally discovered where happiness is, where peace is. It's the letting go of kartavya, obligatory action. The letting go of sangraha, attachment grabbing. It's the letting go of kama. Let it go. And the mind comes home and rests in the sun. It's so simple in the end. I was out to lunch yesterday with some friends who are on a spiritual path. And they're talking about going to a psychic who does little kind of twirly things to she's a psychic and tells them, should you be with this gal, should you not be with this person, and what's going to happen, and the cosmos is moving here, and the alignments are there astrologically and all that stuff. Is it true or is it not true? It doesn't matter. It's still conditional. Oh, I can't wait until the stars change their alignment, then everything will be better. But for the jnani, it's just another dream. Watch the movie. Swamiji used to thunder, shut up and get out. Sarvamaya, Sarvamana. It's all Maya. It's all bliss. Next verse.
Agyanayadinirmuktye tatkala jayate prama tattvam syadeva kyarthe trishu kalebhya sanshayah. The listening to the teaching and the production of right knowledge are simultaneous, and the result is the cessation of the transmigratory existence consisting of hunger, etc. There can be no doubt about the meaning of the sentences like thou art that in the past, present, or future.
So, Vedanta is called a Shabda Praman. Praman means a means of knowledge or an authority. Shabda means sound. It doesn't mean the teacher utters some very magic mantra and you are instantly enlightened. When we hear the word Shravana, hearing. We have to understand that it means more than just listening to a talk or watching a YouTube video. What we do in satsang, if it's done well, you've got a fit student whose mind is predominantly sattvic. You have a teacher who themselves is rooted in knowledge. And then we have the scripture, which is setua, rich. What we do is we tune you up with the Vedanta. And then we tell you what you're experiencing while you're experiencing. Then we have what Gita calls jnanam vijnanam cha. Understanding and direct experience coming together at the same time. And then the student goes, oh yeah, it's true. Nobody there. That isn't frightening. There's such great peace. Where did that person go? It's gone. Now, if that kratya vijnanam, that recognition does not take place, no blame. The beauty of the Vedanta, it is enormously repetitive. So as we evolve, we get purer, minds get clearer. Don't worry, the ideas will come around again. Read something in scripture or hear something in satsang. Why did I have so much trouble with that? That's so clear, that's so obvious. Or I had another student who had a really powerful 10-day Vipassana retreat. And he was telling me about it. It's true, it's real. It's so much more vivid than I thought. So we do not need to acquire, achieve, attain the self. It is already secured, accomplished. It's myself. What do I need to do? Remove the obfuscation. How do I do that? Just don't do something, sit there. Out of the unconscious comes all the ills of the world. This is the deeper meaning of Pandora's box. And in meditation, we simply are present. This is the unloading of the unconscious. Technical term is kashaya. until we have tano manasa, thinness of mind, and the nature of the self becomes evident. Simple process. You don't need to know Sanskrit. You don't need to go to the Himalayas. But you need to have the jnanam, the understanding, and the vijnanam, direct experience, come together at the same time. Next verse.
Pratibandha vihinatvat swayam chanubhavatmanaha jayirteva pramatatra swatmanyeva na sanshayaha. The right knowledge of the self, which is of the nature of pure consciousness, is, no doubt, produced in one at the time of listening to the teaching, as all obstacles are removed beforehand.
Yeah. So, obstacles must be removed beforehand, which is nothing more than my deeply rooted conviction caused by ignorance in the mind that I'm the body. From that stems all the rest of my ignorance. Think about it. What upset you this week? You got sense perception about something to do with the body. I didn't get what I want. How did you know that sense perception? What is it that didn't get what you wanted? My mind. I wanted to have so-and-so do such and such. All with relationship to the body. But if at any time we could stop the kartavya, the struggling, remember who we are. It's just a movie. It's just a movie. And everything drops away. Wait a minute, but first I've got to make my husband or my wife behave. And then I've got to find the right house. And then, of course, it's the job that's doing it all. And then politics. Oh, all these things. You are like the person in a dream who believes the solution to the problem is to stop having the headless horse chase them. When in fact, all you need to do is wake up. But that never occurs to the person in the dream, usually. So the shravana, the hearing of the scriptures, is a message to the person in the dream. Let me show you how to wake up. Listen to the traffic outside. Who hears it? There's nobody there. Yet it's being heard. Next verse.
Kim sadevahamasmiti kim vanya pratipadyate sadeva chedahan shabdah sata mukhyartha ishyatam anyacchetas daham graha pratipattir mrishevasa tasman mukhya grihe nasti varanavagate riha. Is the knowledge I am Brahman itself, or I am something other than it, is produced when one is taught thou art that? If the meaning implied by the word I is something which is Brahman itself, you must accept the absolute identity of the innermost self and Brahman. But if the word I implies something other than Brahman, the knowledge I am Brahman certainly becomes false. The knowledge of their absolute identity cannot, therefore, be forbidden.
So the point here is, if you hear something from some teacher someplace, oh, you are Jim, you are an individual, and you have a higher self. That self you can channel if you go into meditation. What you are is a ghost. Not the body, but you're a ghost. You float around. And then after you die, you'll float into another body. What you are is chakras. Who are you? Oh, I was burned at the stake for being a witch in a prior life. All of these are dreams. I'm not saying you don't experience them. They are like a dream. Go to your direct experience, not something you believe in that someone has taught you. Real spirituality sets forth hypotheses which we prove or disprove in the laboratory of our direct experience. So simply, our fundamental meditative practice in Vedanta, Drik Drishya Viveka, discrimination between the seer and the seen, Atma Vichara, investigation into myself, not reading lots of books about Brahman out there. How do I do it? Look at the bowl on the table. Are you a bowl? No. You're the person looking at the bowl. Subject, object. You go through the whole phenomenal world. You see, you have a subject object relationship. Now we go to the body itself. Take a deep breath. Feel the breath in the body. You have an ache or a pain or a sensation in your body. Do you not know the body? You know the bowl on the table. Listen carefully. This doesn't mean it's going to make the pain stop. You never said that. But you are not that. You are the knower of it. You are not Shakti, you are not energy, you are not prana. You're not a feeling. Feelings are inert, they're insentient. Oh, yesterday I was so sad. And then I felt much better. Can the sadness see the better? Can the better see the sadness? No. I was talking to my sadness, and it said to me, Jim, mind your own business. No. I know feelings. They are objects of cognition. You are not the monomaic ocean. And thoughts go by like the sound of traffic outside. But one thought doesn't know another. They are jada, they're inert. Well, who is it who knows the thoughts and the space between them? There's nothing there. That's right. But it's not nothing because you can see the thoughts and the space between the thoughts. What is it that knows the thoughts, space between them? Ch18, the vast empty space of awareness itself. Now, if I go through this process, I see that the self in me is that ch18. And if Aditi does the same thing, she sees the same thing, ch18, as David or Mark or whomever's out there in Zoomland. Why? I am Atma Brahma. This self, meaning me, is Brahman. It's the very substratum of everyone. See it? Don't believe me? Next verse.
Pratyayi pratyayashcheva yada bhasau tadarthata tayor chitimatvacha chaitanye kalpyate phalam. The intellect and its modifications having the reflection of the self in them exist for it and are non-conscious. Liberation, the result, is therefore supposed to be in the conscious self.
So we don't want to get confused with this chit-chaya, this shadow of a self, a reflection of the self, this pratibimba, caught in the web of thought and the intellect. So if you go into the bathroom and look into the mirror, you see a face in the mirror. But the face in the mirror cannot see you. I see eyes in the face in the mirror. They do not see. So also, it seems to the ignorant that it is this personal sense of self that's a conscious entity. I'm Jim, and I got up this morning and I made coffee and I spoke on the phone with my friends. I did the dishes this morning. And it seems like that there's a me that's an individual, that's the body, that's doing all this stuff and perceiving this individual information. No. If we break it down and examine every element of all of those experiences, we see that even the Jiva Bhavana, this feeling that I'm a person, is in itself an object of cognition. I woke up this morning. Oh, Jim, I woke up this morning on the wrong side of the bed. I was just annoyed at everything. Everything was just crappy. Wait a minute. Were you crappy? Or were you aware of crappy feelings? Were you aware of annoyance? I was just thinking about what so and so said to me last night. Hurt my feelings. Wait a minute. So and so said things to the body, sense perception, the mind evaluating. All of this was phenomena. None of it ever touched consciousness. That jiva, sense of individuality, is fundamentally jada, inert. It borrows the sentience of the self. Itself is not moving. Can't remember what the makeup of these things were. My dad would show me this stuff when we would go to where he was working at the time at TRW. And I think it was Lucite or something, but they make these like tube things. And everything was aligned molecularly. So you shined a light at one end, and then a light would come out the other end. The tube would direct the light rays. I can't remember how they did that. But the point is, if you shut the beam of light off, the tube of light was inert. The plastic or the stuff was inert. It had no light of its own. You had to shine a light into it. But sure as shooting, we're there at the other end of the tube, out came light. So actually, I, Jim, can see my living room. But the Jim itself is inert. I can look at the couch. I can look at the window. Am I directing consciousness? Yes, kind of. But what is the light that shines and enlivens you? I need some of you people in Zoom land to tell me what that substance is. That I can't remember it now. Can't even ask my dad anymore unless I get a Ouija board.
Fiber optics.
Fiber optics. Thank you. Yes. Yes. This was way back in the 60s when they were just developing it. It was very, very cool. All right, next verse.
कुटस्थेऽपि फलं योग्यं राजनीव जयादिकं तदनात्मत्वहेतुभ्यां क्रियायाः प्रत्ययस्य च. As neither the intellect with the reflection of the self, nor its modification in the form of the ego, is of the nature of the result, or its material cause, the result is capable of being attributed to the self, though immutable, like victory to a king.
So, going back to our illusion of fiber optics, the qualities of the fibers are not the qualities of the light that shines through it. So it's because of this asparsha yoga, as Gita calls it. Asparsha means untouched, yoga means joined. When you shine a light through the fibers, does the light join with the fibers? Well, kind of yes, kind of no. Do the fibers in any way touch the light source? Not really. So also, because of the conditions, the upadis, because of their gunas, their qualities, Aditi has good vision. I don't see so well. David has good hearing. Mark doesn't hear too well. So-and-so has a great memory. My forgettery is getting better. So the illuminating quality of the senses, declines. But does consciousness decline? They are properties of the fiber optics, not the light source. Light source is unchanging. Chidakash, the prakasha, the light of pure awareness. Always there. Always shine. Kutastha, immovable, unchanged. David, do you know what the actual substance was, or they use now for fiber optics? What do they use?
They use various types of plastics or glass.
It was cool. I remember it so vividly. I was a teenager when my dad showed me this stuff. All right, next verse.
Adarshasthu yada bhaso mukhakara sa eva saha tathevam pratyayadarsho yada bhasastada hyayam. Just as the reflection of a face which makes a mirror appear like it is the face itself, so the reflection of the self in the mirror of the ego making it appear like the self is the self. So the meaning of the sentence, I am Brahman, is reasonable.
Yes. So the point is, when I look in the mirror and I see my face, is it my face? Well, it is an exact duplicate, but a reversal. But understand that it is jada, it is inert. The face in the mirror cannot see, cannot hear. So also, this ahankara, this phony self, this false self, this counterfeit self, this created I, it's literally aham, I, kara, it's made, created, is not real. It is inert. It is an object of cognition. Although, like the plastic tube, which has fiber optic capabilities, it allows consciousness to shine through, giving rise to sense perception, the knowing of feelings, the knowing of thoughts, and the illusion I'm a person. Next one.
Ityevam pratipattiha syat sadasmiti cha nanyatha tattvamithyupadeshopi dvara bhavadanarthakaha. It is only in this way and in no other that one knows that one is Brahman and that Brahman is oneself. Otherwise, the teaching, thou art that, also becomes useless in the absence of a medium.
So the point here is just to read it in the book, you are that, without undergoing this atma vichara, this direct inquiry into myself, it is useless. It will not liberate us. It is at best a little intellectual pleasure. If I'm suffering or my relative has died and I read Gita, Gita says, we're not born, you do not die. Oh, that's very comforting. I'm glad Aunt Mary is someplace. That's the best it can do. But always, we have to start with our direct experience. Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. You don't get another self. Right now, I'm the limited ego, I'm Jim. Someday I will become Brahman. No. What I need to do is investigate what is real and now. Usually, the vast majority of minds are unable, we never think of it, to inquire into the nature of the subject itself. Oh, I've been doing lots of journaling and I go to psychotherapy and I'm beginning to understand who I am. I have trauma issues from my childhood. It causes me to get angry very easily. Oh, I have PTSD from my childhood. I have fight, flight, and freeze reactions to things in the world. Oh, I was sexually assaulted as a child. I'm all messed up around sex. That's what people think they are. These are qualities of the body, qualities of the mind, qualities of the intellect, deep impressions in the unconscious, no doubt. But all of them are phenomena. They are not the noumenon. They are things known. They are not the knower. Any thoughts? Next verse.
Shrotu Syadupadesha Ched Arthavatvam Tatha Bhavet Adhyakshasya Na Chedishtam Shrotritam Kasya Tad Bhavet. Teaching becomes useful if it is meant for a listener. Who will be the listener if the witness is not?
So the idea here again is the teaching becomes efficacious when it's directed to the person who starts with, it's me, myself. So to study scripture, and you and I are going to talk about the self out there. Oh, I went and talked with so-and-so. I did such and such. I have this problem. But let's talk about the self, which is beginningless and endless, pure, etc. Oh, that's very nice. One of these days, I'd like to meet that self. That does nothing to free us. It starts with you. Who are you? That's what we want to investigate. And the fruit of that investigation is we develop the courage, the yoga balam of power to discard habituated false identification. In some sense, we can say our ignorance, which is the cause of my bondage, is nothing but habit. It is a habituated form of thinking. Any of you ever had the experience where you have a routine that you do at home every morning? It's your habit. And then you're traveling. You wake up in a hotel or in someone else's home, and your routine is messed up. You ever had that experience? Yes, no? And your mind goes jangle, you know? I've got to remember very specifically to take my medicine or do da da da, which is just automatic at home. See, mind likes habits. And if the habit of my mind is I'm my body, the world out there can make me feel such and such and so and so. Happiness is external to me. And I start down the road of sunshine. No amount of manipulation of the material world ever solves the problem. Don't believe me, just look to your direct experience. Did your husband ever behave? Did your wife ever behave? Did your boss ever behave? Did the world ever behave? Did its thing. It is a futile effort to try to make the world behave so I can be happy. All right, next one.
अध्यक्षस्य समीपे स्यात् बुद्धिरेव बुद्धिरेवेति चेन्मतं न तत्कृतोपकारोऽस्ति काष्ठाध्यत्वन्न कल्प्येत्. If you are of opinion that the intellect proximate to the witness is the listener, it cannot be regarded as deriving any benefit from the witness as from a piece of wood.
So, if I think that the ultimate hearer, who is the ear behind the ear, we're going to use those images when we start the Kena Upanishad on Saturday. If I think that the listener is the individual, that listener who's the individual is fundamentally inert like a piece of wood. Practically speaking, what's he talking about? I, Jim, am studying the scripture so someday I can realize the self out there. Oh, I went to Burning Man and I did ecstasy. And I had an experience of reality. You experiencing it now? No. It wasn't reality. Did you get stressed or upset this week? Yes, no?
Yes.
Did you cease to exist?
No.
Were you ever not you?
No.
Were you ever unaware?
No.
even in the midst of my reactivity and ignorance and identification, I never lost my experience of the self. Now, here in this gestalt, it's very sacred. Who are you? You have this radical introversion of the attentive faculty. Do you not see that nothing there? Isn't that your experience? Yes?
Yes.
No. I don't say it just because I say it. Where did that miserable person go? It falls. It is like shining a light on the shadow. Oh, the shadow is hard to see. I'm going to illuminate it with a big bright flashlight. What happens when you shine the light on the shadow? Gone. Because it's not real. So we must start with what's real, what's now, which is my direct experience of me, myself. I may think I'm a miserable creature, but we start there. Who are you? Now let's investigate. Shankara says we can't say that Maya exists. We can't say that it doesn't exist. But what we can say is it's very powerful. Sorry. All right, we have time. We can do one more.
Buddho jetat kritah kaschin nan vepam parinamita abhasepi chako doshaha sati shrutyadyanu. But the witness must be admitted to be subject to change if there be any benefits rendered by it to the intellect. What harm is there if the reflection of the self is accepted as it is supported by the Shrutis and Smritis?
So the point is this counterfeit self, this reflected self, yes, it does undergo changes. But it undergoing changes does not affect me. So this is the great paradox of the teaching. The psychologists want to fix the mind. And there's some value in that, especially in the beginning. But Swamiji always used to tell us the way to heal the mind is to get out of the mind. When the mind sees the unreality of its own egoistic position, it starts to settle down. It quits the compulsion to protect, defend, secure, fight, flee. I like to tell people, don't try to be spiritual. It's very burdensome. be Brahman. Phew. And by definition, all equipments, the Upadis, are created by residual ignorance and are by definition finite. All right, we'll quit here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari